Hi, my name is Sam Ebden. I'm a music video director and video content producer, and today I'm talking to you about how I made my music video Manic for Mulini.
Faster run my car. The future is the ride upon. Manic in the dark. I'm drinking at the bar.
So when you start production for a music video, I typically start with a treatment. Now, a treatment is a visual document of which showcases the mood, the visual style, the story, the locations, the costume, all visually for your client to see. So here is the treatment. I always find it's key to talk about what kind of lenses you're going to use, what kind of look they're going to give you, and make sure that your story is detailed and is very visually descriptive, to make sure that your client knows exactly what they're going to be paying for. Once this is done and they like it, you can then move on to writing your script. Now, a script for a music video can be very simple, as we had no dialogue and it was all very much human action. It was a very action comprised script. I always find a key when you write a script is 1 page is 1 minute of film. So for this song, the song was about 3.5 minutes, which means that I had 3.5 pages of script. So location scouting wise, dependent on your budget. So for this music video, it was a low budget music video. So a key thing I always use is to go onto Google Maps and change it from satellite to terrain. This simply means that you can see the terrain and the sort of landscapes of which you can film at. Once I had found a location that matched exactly what my script had, comprised it all into a call sheet. Now, usually your first AD or first assistant director will create the call sheet. However, in this instance, I wanted to do the call sheet just so I knew exactly where the timings were and so I could plan them myself, as we didn't have a DP on set, so I was also on the camera too as the DP. So your call sheet comprises of your call times for your cast and your crew, along with your lunch and your wrap time. But with that as well, you have your different location moves, your scenes, and the cast and crew of which are going to be on set on that day. I will always add a schedule to the end of it, just so that everybody knows what times we're meant to be at each place and when. And another thing, if you own a smartwatch, always go and program your schedule into your smartwatch, because then it means you don't have to pull out your phone or ask your AD for your schedule. So once your call sheets are done, send them out. Now I'm going to break down the kit we used for our shoot. So originally we were going to film on a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera 4K, however I wanted a few stops of extra dynamic range and built-in ND on the camera. It hasn't got an IR filter on as well, so the colours can become a little distorted, especially when you don't use NDs with IR in them, or IR is infrared light, as it doesn't have a filter to block it out. I luckily was able to get a Ursa Mini Pro 4.6K, which also has built-in ND filters, which just gave an extra advantage and also gave me a few extra stops of dynamic range to make that image look even better. Now, we were originally going to film on the Helios 58mm f2 lens, which was anamorphically adapted. By anamorphically adapted, I mean at the back they had put in an oval diaphragm, which gave you the anamorphic look. Quite a neat lens, I absolutely love it. However, just for this shoot, it just didn't fit quite right for me. So I changed it over to a Rokinon 35mm cine lens, which was T1.5. So our production ran over 3 days. On the first day, which was a Friday evening, it was a 2-hour shoot. Now this 2 hours was with our cast members, and this was filming the first and last scene of the music video's story. For these scenes, I wanted them to be very real, so I didn't want to add any other sort of natural light, which is why it's quite dark. However, it added to the grungy feeling of which I wanted to build, as they are both trying to flee from the girlfriend's abusive father. Now on the second day, the Saturday, we filmed the whole day, and this was the main bulk of filming. So at 8 AM we arrived at set, so I brought the first AD and our 2 cast members to set that day, and we met up with my camera team. We then spent the first hour rigging, as that was the call time for the crew, and then at 9 o'clock our cast and our artists arrived. However, the cast were already there, they were in the car chilling. However, it was then time to start production. Now on set, I always find it key to make sure that your crew is always happy and knows exactly what they're doing. This is important just because it helps you steer the ship as the director, but also make sure that your crew is comfortable. Now, before starting any shoot, I will always call everybody together, so that's crew and cast, and go through a nice little talk to make sure that everybody's ready for the day and knows what is going on. Now, our shooting day pretty much comprised of starting on the mountains. We shot the couple fleeing their car after it ran out of fuel, then a few more performance shots with our artist, and then up onto the mountain so we could get some nice romantic and freeing shots of our cast. And then after that, we then called lunch. So once we'd all eaten, we then packed up and moved to our second location. Now, our second location was originally going to be a post office. However, the post office called me the day before and said, you can't film here. So we were pretty much going to find a store and talk to the owner and see if we could film in their store. So we turn up in the town, and me and the artist and my first AD, we went out for a little wander to find a store of which we can film in. We walked up the high street and found a lovely Whole Foods place, and we went in and spoke to the owner. Luckily, she said yes, and I went and got my actors and rang them down to come and film. It was literally just 6 shots in the store, so we would only be there for 10 to 15 minutes. A major thing to remember is when you're working in somebody else's space, and especially in their workplace like this in a store, you need to be as quick and efficient as possible and have minimal impact to their source of income and to their customers. So make sure to stay out of the way and keep their customers happy and the store owner happy. So I made sure to keep the rest of the crew, so that's my clap loader, my focus pillar, my first AD, and the artist himself, all out of the store, and it was just me and the 2 cast members as we went through and got all the shots in there. Once that was done, we then came out of the store and then we went to Spoons. Because at this point it's 1 o'clock and we are 2 hours ahead of schedule. So it's always nice to break up the day with a little bit of something to reward everybody with. So in the UK we have Spoons or Wetherspoons, which is just ideal to go in and sit there and just for them, they all had a pint. I don't, because if I have a pint, I'll be falling asleep and it's not a very good idea, especially when I'm driving too. So instead I use my hour to do a data dump. Now, when you do data dumps or footage dumps, whatever you want to call them, I call them data dumps, I always make sure to categorize into your roll number. Then in your roll number, make sure to put all of the shots that were on that roll into there. As we had slated throughout the day, I wasn't too worried about organising scenes because I could do that later. So once the data dump was done, we then went and moved to our final location, which was another hill about 20 minutes from the town. Now this hill was a bit smaller and we were simply filming the last sequence to the story and a few more performance shots with our artist. Once that was done, we were then wrapped for the day and we had wrapped our cast. So I took them straight back to the train station, dropped them off, and then went home and started the edit. Then the next day, on the Saturday, is our final shoot day, where the artist is coming to film a few sequences at night and some performance takes. So we had got all of our performance takes, and then the music video was wrapped. Obviously, the final bit of creating a music video is the post-production. I always find the easiest way to do it is create a rough first of all of your best takes. Now, for us, we had shot in pretty much chronological order, so it's very, very easy for me to organise everything into the timeline. I always make sure to overlay all of your video tracks, especially when you're doing all the performance ones, make sure that they are all synced to the song. For this instance, I had to manually sync all the songs, so I used the starting beat and the starting tone of the music to match with the performance, which meant that all of the lyrics were synced and done for the music video. From this point, we had about 8 bed layers. So my bed layers are all of the performance shots of which we had taken of the artist singing and singing to his song. And then below that, I then had the story, which is all edited into a rough, which meant that I could then go and quickly choose which bed layers I wanted and cut them over the top, which made it a lot easier to edit through the timeline. So once I sent the rough to the artist, he was quite happy with it, so I made sure to clean up anything of which I found may be a bit displaced and then grade the entire music video. At this point, the music video was finished. So I sent it over to the artist and delivered his music video. Obviously, this was more of a brief video on how we made a music video. If you'd like any more details on music video production and how to make a music video or how to visualize one, Please don't hesitate to put your comments in the description below and tell me exactly what you think or what you want videos on in the future. I'm Sam, and I hope you've enjoyed the video.